Okay, we're now going to jump right into exploring effective planning with one of our newest tools this year, and that is called the Planning Conversation Guide. And before we jump into that, we want to just kind of remind ourselves of the teaching and coaching cycles. Sometimes we call it the PTR or the Plan, Teach, Reflect cycle. And it's kind of enhanced this year. You'll notice we're really focusing on making sure that everything that we do in our classrooms as teachers and as coaches supporting teachers are wrapped around this cycle. If you were in our training last year, we really highlighted the high leverage processes and tools around planning, around the observation cycle. So that would be the pre, the observation, and the post, and then also analyzing student learning. And those were what we consider our high leverage tools. What we know in practice makes the biggest impact and really helps teachers kind of focus their ongoing teaching around these processes and the tools that can support them. So, our newest tools are really focused in on these three parts of this cycle. And also, we're going to show you in a few minutes or have you have a conversation around how it's also tightly connected. The new tools are tightly connected to the optimal learning environment that we just spoke about. So, what we want to do is also really kind of hone in on the planning part this time. The next time we're together, we'll really take a closer look at the observation tools that are available to you through Learning Zone and also the new analyzing student learning tools as well. But today we're really going to focus in on the planning conversation guide. So, the other thing that we really want to share with you is that all of NTC's new high leverage tools are organized by focus areas, and that are these focus areas you'll see on the screen here, and then you'll also see in your packet on page, actually the teaching and coaching cycle was on page 8. And on page 9 is a little bit of a descriptor related to these four focus areas if you want to go ahead and turn to packet page 9. But basically, these focus areas are going to be very parallel. So, whether it's the planning conversation guide or the observation focus and cycle, or the analysis of student learning, you are going to very explicitly see these four focus areas very much highlighted in those new tools. And so, we're going to take some time for you to kind of unpack that and take a look at how that is actually true. But these focus areas really encompass everything that happens in the classroom, including teacher and student words and actions that are observable. And so it's really important that we are helping all of our teachers and support all of our teachers in planning for all four of these areas. And the real this new tool is aligned with the optimal learning environment framework, but it's not as tightly connected to a specific lesson. I think that's one thing that you'll notice in the new tool. It's actually can be used in multiple ways. So it could be a way to analyze an existing lesson that a teacher has and actually enhance one or more of these focus areas that maybe you see some gaps in, or the teacher sees some gaps in and wants to really kind of beef that up. Or it could actually be, planning ahead for a specific lesson or group of lessons with an individual teacher. And actually, in a little bit, you'll see a video where the instructional coach is actually doing it with a group of teachers. And I think in your specific context, you have both of those things going on. So you'll see a lot of benefit from that as well. And so, what we're going to have you go ahead and do is take a look. Actually, I'm going to back up just real quick here. Take a look at page 10, 11, and 12 in your packet, and you'll notice that is the actual tool. And you're going to get a chance to kind of analyze that now in a few minutes. But we have found that often it helps for us to, before we actually analyze the tool, to take a few minutes to really look at the overview and the steps in the process, because the tool is really there to help support the process. It's not intended to be a form that every box is necessarily filled out. So we think it's really important to kind of step back for a minute at the very beginning and really look at that overview and the steps that are involved. And so on packet page 13 and 14, you will see those there. And what we want to do is to go ahead and give you, 3 to 4 minutes here to really look at this. Actually, we'll say 4 minutes to read through the overview and the steps document so that you can. This really replaces some of those field guides you've had in the past, I believe, some little small spiral bound notebooks that we've had. I will share with you right now, just kind of as a timeout, all of these resources and pieces are going to be now part of your learning zone. You'll have a tools section of learning zone, but then you'll also have a my learning place where you can find all of these additional resources that are electronic versus hard copy. So I'll be sharing more with Carla and Melissa about where you can find all of those great resources so that they can pass that on to you. But for now, you have what you need in the packet that you've been provided. So take 4 minutes just to kind of read through packet page 13 and 14. And then we'll have a chance then to use what you've learned from that to really unpack the tool. So if Carla and Melissa would like, you can go ahead and set the clock for 8 minutes. And that way, after they read packet page 13 and 14, the group can go ahead then and take a closer look at the tool. And I would say one of the things that I would encourage you all to do is to really take a look at how those 4 areas, the 4 focus areas, are arranged, and some of the questions that you'll notice in there. And in a few minutes, you're going to get a chance to actually map this back to the optimal learning environment as well. So about 8 minutes to read the planning conversation guide overview, steps, and kind of self-pace and or with a partner. Take a look at the planning conversation guide tool, identify things that really stand out to you that you want to try to incorporate into your practice this year. So about 8 minutes, and then we'll come back together, large group. So now that you've had an opportunity to really kind of take a closer look at the planning conversation guide tool that's in your packet and also the steps and overview, go ahead and turn to an elbow partner and just have a quick conversation. You'll notice there's a note-taking page on page 15 in your packet around these 3 questions. How do you really see yourself using this tool with individual teachers and or teams of teachers? What entry points might you use to introduce this tool to your teaching colleagues? And how can you uncover your teachers' knowledge and beliefs about planning, and how this could actually enhance or support them in that part of a very important part of their work? So we're going to once again give you about 3 or 4 minutes here with your elbow partner to kind of talk about these questions and how you might apply and use this planning conversation tool in guide in your practice. What we'd like to do now is just take a brief moment as well to take you back to your optimal learning environment framework. And with that same partner that you just talked through the questions on packet page 15, we want to have you now go back to your optimal learning environment framework that was the last page in your packet. And one of you have that laying out while the other one has the actual planning conversation guide tool out, and take just 2 to 3 minutes to review those definitions, the domains, and the characteristics that you see listed under each of those 3 domains, and really look for places